Thank you, Maurizio, and good morning to everybody. I would like to begin by thanking Maurizio for the opportunity for us to present to you here today and tomorrow. We know that you have a long week of conference ahead of you, so we hope that we catch you fresh this morning. As Maurizio said, I am here as the International Development Advisor and accompanied by Malcom Trotter, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the IAB and the IAAP. We have quite a lot to present to you over the next 2 days, so I would just like to establish the format. We will stop after each session, so as you are able to ask your questions. We would like to make it as interactive as possible, but obviously we require a little organisation in this. So if you are able just to make a note of your questions, and we will stop periodically to answer and discuss them, and also at the end of each morning and afternoon to have a plenary session in which we go over the essential points which you introduced. Thank you very much for your patience so far, and now we would like to begin by passing to the first slide. First point, the introduction to the IAB and the IAP, International Association of Bookkeepers and International Association of Accounting Professionals. The two organisations are distinctive but work together. The IAB, if you wish, is the father company, and the IAP is a recent introduction of 2 years ago, so as to develop and extend the programs and qualifications which we offer both in the UK and worldwide. So we would hope to explain to you the interaction of the two organisations, but the focus at the beginning will be very much on the IAB. Point 2. As an organisation, as a creature, we are very much involved in, as the name suggests, in bookkeeping, because this was the subject area which justified the foundation of the organisation. But over the years, we have developed from pure bookkeeping skills to encompass other skills in accountancy and financial skills generally, and their application not only in the UK trading field and economy, but also globally. Point 3. This is my third visit to Mexico within the last year, and this is the third time which I have met with Maurizio. So we have dedicated a lot of attention to the relationship which may develop between ourselves and with your organisation. And we're really happy to have this opportunity today to enter into detail and to go about it. Principally, we are a training organisation in that we offer programs and qualifications and membership opportunity to candidates who take our programs and sit our examinations. And then through the membership opportunities, we develop an ongoing and hopefully permanent relationship with them of they enjoying a professional status and we assisting with professional competency, continuing professional development, and upskilling required for their own business development, as well, of course, as individual status and profiles. The distinctive nature of our qualifications, which we will look at in detail later, is that they are very vocational in nature. And both the course programs and the examinations are very much based on case studies which have been prepared by our own members as practicing professionals. So we can guarantee a constant updating of the input which we give, which keeps pace with any changes in legislation or professional practice, and meets the skills which the professional practitioner may require to carry forward their own business and to create a certain mobility in the offer which they themselves are able to propose to other businesses. Yes, sir. In these 2 days, we will be concentrating very much on the level 3 and the level 4 accounting qualifications. It is these which we specialize in internationally, and we have a great deal of success throughout the world, which we will be able to give you examples of, so you have a complete overview of our operation. The reason we talk about levels is that our approach is very different from some of the other chartered accountancy bodies, where you embark on a career and you will only get the fruits of the career if you stay with it for a period of 2 or 3 or even 4 years or longer. This is not easy in this life of ours and the world of ours, because many things can happen. Illness, job changes, change of country, inability to grasp the subject material. So our approach is very much at adopting a level by level approach, whereby within the particular level, the candidate, the student, the professional, yourselves, can gain the competence necessary to do a very specific job and to be accredited, or shall we say, to be recognized by an international body as able to perform those tasks. So it is very much a vocational, professionally orientated approach, which gives the opportunity to progress, to come in at the right level, which suits your ability or suits the needs which you require to gain, and within a relatively short period of 60, 75, 90 hours, to gain the competence in a specific area. Often, to talk of 2, 3, 5 years can be frightening, and as practicing professionals, the time available is also limited. So a solution whereby we have bite chunk levels specializing in a competence, we feel, and our experience tells us, has a significant role to play, especially when we are looking at vocational and career orientated content. It's okay. Yes, do it all. Please translate all. As you will read, I am a young man with a lot of experience. I am from Liverpool originally. My accent is a Northern English accent. It's fairly nostril, but I hope it's fairly clear for you. As the last point on the slide says, I have been involved with IAB since 2006, and since 2008 have had the role of International Development Advisor. So the IAB is organised so that different international managers, different international development advisors, under the supervision of Malcom, our Chief Executive, cover different parts of the world. My territory, my patch, if you like, is Europe, the Caribbean, and now Latin America. I will explain to you later why we are only arriving in Latin America now. And my job is to consolidate the relationships with existing accredited centres which we appoint to deliver our programmes and to function as examination centres, and also to search out new geographical areas where we feel we will be able to establish a partnership, appoint regional representatives, and to grow a system of accredited centres. And it is with this very much in mind that we have contacted Maurizio, and we are looking to develop such a network in Latin America. But first, we have to convince you of the validity and the relevance of what we are proposing. I think it's only right at this point that Malcom has a chance to address you and speak for himself.
Thank you, Jeff, and thank you for your welcome. It's a real pleasure to be here. It's my first time in Mexico City, and in Mexico and in Latin America. I've been travelled quite a lot around the world, visiting different regions for education purposes, but never to Latin America, so it's my first time. So thank you. A little bit then, of course, it's up there on the screen. If someone would, I don't know whether it's already been read out, but I've been with the IAB now for, well, a long time actually, 2001. I was the Director of Education for IAB and for an accountancy body as well. And then since 2006, when the previous CEO retired, I applied and very gratefully was given his old job. So I think my passion, I want to perhaps give a bit more, this is a bit formal, and my passion is very much helping people to have the skills, firstly to run a really effective business, and secondly for their career development. That's what drives me. I spent almost 15 years in education prior to joining the IAB, so I've had about 30 years now almost in education and training of a kind. Before that I was in the commercial world. Yeah, that's my passion, is giving people the skills to run their businesses, and with a particular emphasis on financial skills for obvious reasons. That's what we're about in particular, but not just that. Other business enterprise skills. I was saying to Maurizio yesterday, we're very involved as an organisation with helping to improve the environment in the UK in terms of helping people to start a business and to grow their business. And we work very closely with government on, for example, initiatives in business mentoring and coaching, putting peer-to-peer support together for people to help each other, but also better access to your kinds of services, and enabling businesses to realise their limitations and understand when they need to get in a professional, someone like yourselves, to add value to their business, so that they can grow more effectively, or indeed save themselves from becoming insolvent. Anyway, that's my kind of passion. I think I'm going to pass back to Jeff now. Thank you.
You applaud the chief executive, but not me. The question is a very simple one. Why two professional bodies? And I can explain this in a drawing of 20 seconds. Excuse me. So, here it is. I hope it's clear. The IAB specialises in the level 1, 2, 3, 4 qualifications. In the UK, we have a number of qualifications based at the principles of bookkeeping, computerised bookkeeping, payroll, and all related bookkeeping skills. They are not of great interest internationally. Internationally, the levels are level 3 and level 4, as we mentioned before. The advanced bookkeeping and accountancy for international financial reporting standards. They are the key qualifications which we offer internationally. And they are qualifications of 90 or 120 hours. As I explained before, we very much concentrate on these bite chunk type modules. Over the years, our accredited centres internationally have asked us, please develop qualifications at a higher level. We have clients for 2 years and they are very happy with the qualifications, but then they cannot continue because the IAB stops here. So we have developed a sister organisation, the International Association of Accounting Professionals, which recognises higher educational achievement and also the continuing professional development of ourselves or yourselves as professionals. And this, there is an overlap at level 4, but then we go to level 5, 6 and 7. To give you an idea, the level 4 is considered as first year university as regards the academic content. You may know that in the United Kingdom, a standard degree is a 3-year course of study. So level 4 is equivalent to year 1, 5, year 2, 6, level 3. And level 7 is of a postgraduate standard. The IAB and the IAP are managed by the same council, by the same chief executive, and by the same international staff. So basically, what we look to provide is a continuing relationship with our international regions and with the accredited centres. So we all have the opportunity to maintain a relationship which helps the professionals to be recognised over a period of time, because it is continuing professional development and upskilling which are the names of the game throughout the world nowadays. There is no hiding from it. I will limit myself to that overview and pass back now to Malcom. Unless you have anything to add on that, Malcom?
Thank you, Jeff. So Jeff has spoken about the relationship of the IAB and also the IAAP. IAP is what people these days seem to say. It's a bit of a mouthful, IAAP. It's hard for us to say. But I think most importantly, whilst, and I can say this because I qualified in bookkeeping as a young person, and then I qualified in accounting. So as a bookkeeper and an accountant, there is a tendency sometimes for some accountants in the UK, I'm talking about, to look down on bookkeepers. Bookkeeping is a kind of a low-level activity. It's a bit of a mistake, because certainly now, 30, 40, 50 years on, since the IEB was established in 1973, the roles of bookkeepers and accountants in the UK and also in other parts of the world have become blurred, and they overlap each other, and both of them offer added value to their clients. Particularly these days, accountants, accounting professionals, their added value is in consultancy, in tax advice, financial planning, improving financial management techniques, investments, and of course the traditional work of audit for those who are qualified to deliver audit. But of course bookkeepers, they have continued to provide their core services of good record keeping, timely record keeping, but bookkeepers in the UK now do a lot more, because they've got that regular relationship with their client, weekly or monthly, going into the business or online, keeping those records up to date. A lot of bookkeepers now are identifying ways in which, right in real time, a business can improve their financial management, helping with the monthly accounts, management accounts, helping with the payroll, helping with the tax return for value-added tax, sales tax, which has to go in usually quarterly. So these kind of services, regular real-time services, are often now provided by bookkeepers. So the point I'm trying to make is there's no reason for either bookkeepers or accountants to look at each other with shall we say, suspicion or otherwise. In fact, in the UK, there's a fantastic relationship between bookkeepers and accountants, either bookkeepers as employees or as outsourcers for accountants. But I say the point I wanted to make was the IAB is what gives IAP, ironically, its credibility. The IAB can trace its roots to 1916, which I mentioned there. Sorry, let's go back a stage. The Institute of Bookkeepers was established in 1916. Today in the UK it's an accountancy body, but it's that accountancy body that started the IAB in 1973. And it's the IAB which has real, genuine status, as opposed to the IEP, which is a relatively new start-up organisation. But I'll explain. So these are the kind of unique features about the IAB. It's the only professional membership body of its kind to be recognised by the United Kingdom authorities. What I mean by that is, of its kind. What do I mean of its kind? Well, it's the only professional body for bookkeepers in the UK, that's UK based, that is entirely governed and controlled by its members. I mean, most of you here may understand that a professional body, by definition, is governed by its members, but that's not always the case. There are bodies around which are controlled by one or two individuals, and effectively their primary purpose is to make profit and be commercial, but provide services to their members. But the IAB isn't like that. And the other chartered accountancy bodies in the UK are not like that. They exist because they are governed by their members. So all of the standards, the governance, the accountability is to the membership. So the board of directors is entirely made up of those elected by the members, not appointed by any individual. So the IAB is also, importantly, a not-for-profit organisation. I'll come back to that later. We believe that the IAB offers a unique range of qualifications. Jeff's already mentioned about that, the unique features. The unique features, which are the practical nature. When I meet people and they'd say, well, the reason my staff in my accountancy practice or my business are trained in IAB qualifications is I can trust the technical content of the qualification and the assessment standard. And the IAB lives or dies by that. Our reputation is founded on the practical, bite-sized chunks, as the way Jeff described it, qualifications. There's no, what we say in English, padding. There's no kind of stuff which is not necessary. We like to focus on what is the knowledge, what are the skills that these people need to demonstrate to do an effective job. And we're doing a lot of work in the UK in particular, but also elsewhere in the world, and I'll be mentioning that in some case studies a bit later on. But it's giving people the financial edge to get a job or to improve their job prospects. And we're doing a lot of work with the unemployed in the UK. Businesses all the time seem to need more and more financial skills. Despite levels of unemployment, businesses still complain there aren't enough skilled people. So we have to give those people the skills, and working with the effectively what we might call the Labour Ministry of Labour in the UK, we've got training schemes for the unemployed to quickly give them financial skills to enable them to get a job, and that's what we're really all about at that level. I said I'd come back to this. We're a not-for-profit organisation. I don't know how many of you are familiar with this kind of business formation. Of course, you all know about limited companies limited by shares, but the IB is limited by guarantee. So there are no shareholders. So any profit can't be distributed. Yeah, I'm sure you get that. So any surplus that's made, and we do refer to it as a surplus, is retained. But I get in trouble from my board if we make very good profits. And you probably think that's a bit strange, isn't it? Why would the CEO get in trouble for making really good profits? Well, if we make, say, 20% profit on our turnover, my board would say, well, what's going on? Are we charging too high fees for the member subscription, or too high fees to our students? Why aren't you using that surplus to grow the organisation, to train more people, or bring in more members into the organisation? So I'm measured not by the level of profit, but by how many more people have we trained, or have you trained if you were partners of ours. You do the training, we set the qualifications and assessment standards. How many more people have gained qualifications? How many more members are there? How many more countries? How many more countries have we helped to develop skills and grow skills? That's what I'm measured by. And as long as we break even, or a little bit better than break even, to ensure sustainability of the organisation, that's all that's required. But I hope that's an assurance to you that we're not, the IEB is not here to make money. We're here to help people to get skills. And as long as it washes its face, it's another English saying we have, that it covers its cost, the activity, then that's all that we want to achieve. And just a little photograph, a little interlude. This was taken 2 years ago when the IB enjoyed its 40th anniversary, and we had a dinner, an awards dinner. We have an annual awards event, but this particular year we had a wonderful dinner, and it was sponsored by some wonderful sponsors, 1 or 2 banks and this kind of organisation. And as you can see, there's a mixed bunch of people of different ages, different genders, different nationalities. People came from around the world, and we had a wonderful time. I think Jeff was involved with that and assisted with our international members.
Can you see me? I'm in there somewhere.
Spot Jeff. Spot Jeff. We have a series of books in England for children called Where's Wally? I don't know if you've ever seen those books. They're wonderful books. Wonderful drawings, yeah? And you've got to try and spot Wally. Have you ever done that with your children? It's a wonderful thing, but this one's... Where's Jeff? I'll move a bit more quickly on this part. I've explained that the IB is governed by its members and the board of directors. We have a president, an honorary president. He's a member of parliament. He's actually been our president, I think, the longest serving honorary president we've ever had. He's done almost 10 years now. A wonderful man. He actually ran 2 businesses before he entered Parliament. I'm telling you things now which are not confidential. The first one was a failure. It was an IT business selling computers and software, and it was a huge failure. But his second one was a business selling wine. But he sold his share of the partnership when he became a member of Parliament, because he didn't want anybody to accuse him of having business dealings as well as being a member of Parliament, and just to dedicate himself. He tells the story, I think he told this story about 3 years ago for the first time. I heard him say it in public, so again I'm telling you something which is not confidential. How would you feel if you become a member of Parliament? In England they're not paid particularly highly. I mean, they're paid broadly $100,000 US dollars a year is what a member of Parliament gets paid. It's not bad, but it's equally, a lot of people say if you earn less than $150,000 in the UK, you know, you've not really made it as a career person. Well, so MPs are not very well paid in one sense, but his business partner, the one who he had a partnership with, the wine business, he sold his wine business 3 or 4 years ago for £3 million. And so Fabian missed out on all of that. So Fabian missed out on the point. We've got a little bit of a audio problem. Oh, thanks very much. So Fabian Hamilton unfortunately missed out on making some money. Okay, our office is based near London. And it's a wonderful team of staff who enable the IAB to work effectively around the world. Thankfully, a very settled team of people. Jeff will confirm that, and we work really well together, which is wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, just to give Malcolm a short break, I will do the next slide, if we can produce it, as it's on the international structure. Malcom referred to 2 or 3 important principles which guide the IAB. That it is managed by an appointed council with a chairperson. These are members who voluntarily give their time to supervise and to manage the IAB. It's important because what we will propose to your organisation is not a franchise relationship. It will be what is we refer to as a concessionary arrangement whereby you become accredited centres and as such have the opportunity to deliver our programmes and to function as an examination centre. We are really proud of the fact of our head office team. Many of them have been with us for several years, 7, 8 years or more in some cases. And this is the team which also supports our international centres to assist in applications, to help with providing materials and registration of students, for the functioning of examinations, and for the issuing of certificates, and then developing into membership opportunities, whereby the successful candidates become members of our association. So I think that is a great chart to illustrate it. Go back, please. What we don't see too well, excuse me, Maurizio, if I just move this, is how we are organised internationally at the bottom. I referred before to the fact that we divide the world into different regions. Malcom, could you just indicate where I am responsible for? As you see, I have quite a lot of responsibility for Europe and then the Caribbean and South America. We go back a long way in Russia. As the name suggests, we are the International Association of Bookkeepers, and back in the 80s, since the 80s, we have had strong contacts in the Russian Federation and the Baltic states of Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia. So a lot of my time is spent travelling in Eastern Europe. And 4 or 5 years ago, we reignited a relationship with the Caribbean through the University of West Indies and their open campus. Of more recent development has been an area, a region with which Malcom is heavily involved, which is which is India and the Far East generally, where we also have an appointed manager, Andy Eames, a British guy, but who has lived in India. So, as you see, we have quite an extensive operation. Why do we have an extensive operation? Why do we operate internationally? Well, the answer is that many countries have problems. They have problems of training and giving the right vocational and professional skills to graduates, and to meeting the regulations which the government sets in place for practicing professionals. In fact, in many countries, it is the level 3 and level 4 qualifications which are studied by auditors, because auditors need to provide proof of their professional competence. Maybe they have been practicing for 20 years, but the government introduces regulations whereby they, the professionals, must show proof of professional competence. And this is where our programs and qualifications are very popular. I will also mention the fact that it is not necessary that the programs are delivered in English. The programs can be delivered in the language of the home country. And this takes place in Russia, the Baltic states, in Azerbaijan, in Belarus, and now looking at the Latin American market, we are prepared to arrange that the programs can be delivered in Spanish. In fact, the level 4 qualification, which is the flagship qualification internationally, the Diploma in Accounting to International Financial Reporting Standards, is now available in Spanish. So that is a move which we have made. Okay, that's my little piece on the international structure. Back to Malcom. I will buy you all a coffee.
Right, remember that. Remember it. Okay. So, what is the IEB? What is the IEB aiming to achieve? These are the IEB's objectives. Just like any company, you have a memorandum and articles of association. Yeah. In the memorandum are the objects of the organisation, and these are taken pretty well from the objects. It's about promoting and protecting the status of our members. It's about setting standards and awarding certificates. It's about supervising members. That's an interesting one. I also saw on your agenda, Maurizio presented at the beginning, you're going to be looking at a few interesting kind of things about quality assurance. In the UK, the IAB is what we call a statutory supervisor. So we're appointed by Parliament, along with the chartered accountancy bodies, to supervise our members who are in public practice. In particular, in relation to anti-money laundering initiatives. So in the EU, there is an anti-money laundering regime. And anybody providing services to clients where it involves transactions and they have access to financial information of clients, whether they be lawyers, whether they be accountants or bookkeepers, those firms have to be supervised. And in the UK, our supervisory regime is set down by Parliament, and as I said, the IAB, along with the chartered accountancy bodies, are appointed as supervisors. This happened in 2007. But before that, from the very beginning, we've always monitored our members. We already had a monitoring process, which we always saw as a supportive process. So we would risk rate our member practices. That was through an annual survey. It was through intelligence we sometimes received from other members, suggesting that perhaps a member may have a problem with competence in a particular field. Okay, and we visit those members. We send other members who will go in and they will visit the member in practice, and they will go through their processes, and they will look at their letters of engagement with their clients. They will look at the due diligence they have to do on their clients in an anti-money laundering activity. They will look at the quality of the work that they do and the checks that they put in place when they're doing the work, etc. So this is a very, very important role for the IAB. Without this role, we wouldn't be a genuine professional body. This is what we're about. I've already talked about status, but we sometimes have to secure that professional standing. We had an interesting discussion with the Revenue, Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs a few years ago, and it alleged that bookkeeping wasn't a profession. Well, that's changed now. They've changed their position on that, and as a result, our members, our subscriptions our members pay us are tax exempt, which is a very point, not just for the fact it saves money, but it's an important point to establish that bookkeepers do form a profession as well as accountants. But we're back to this final point again, and I don't want to overplay it. We exist, this is our objective, to facilitate and encourage vocational and career development and international mobility. And again, the case studies I'm going to present will explain this better. Oops, got too far. I mentioned about the role we have as regards supervising our members, but we're also involved very much with other aspects. We work, there's a few names of organisations in the second bullet point. I mentioned Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs, that's HMRC there. Ofqual, the current structure in Britain with regulators is we have the Office of Water Regulation, we have the Office of Gas Industry Regulation, we have the Office of Electricity Industry Regulation, and we have this one, Ofqual, which is the Office of the Qualifications and Examinations Regulator. So, and this is just in England. Scotland has its own education system. So, I'll talk about Scotland when we talk about the IAP a bit later on, because we work closely with the Scottish Qualifications Regulator. But we work very closely with Ofqual. Ofqual regulates the IAB as an awarding body. In the UK there's 180, approximately 180 organisations that are regulated to offer qualifications, national qualifications and international qualifications. And IAB is one of those. Very importantly, the third part of our credibility, if you like, is the work we do with employers, sector bodies and other business and industry bodies. I mentioned earlier my passion. It's a personal passion, but also a passion of the IAB, that we work closely with businesses. So it's what we're about. Our members work with businesses, so the IAB works closely with businesses. And we are appointed by the sector body for financial skills to set standards in bookkeeping and payroll. Jeff has already mentioned a little bit about IAP. You already have the idea of the different levels of qualification and how IAP starts where IAB kind of finishes, level 4, and goes up to level 7. So when we talk about accounting professionals, which includes accountants and bookkeepers, but other accounting professionals, tax professionals, payroll professionals, we can refer to all of them as accounting professionals in a wider sense. So this is really what the IEP is trying to cover. And we wanted to give international credibility, if you like, to accounting professionals and international comparability in terms of qualification achievement. So by giving levels of membership and by giving certification with a trusted international standard at higher levels, people could then have, if you like, an international benchmark when they're talking about training and they're talking about qualifications. And so the first activity, actually, when we set it up in 2008, was to benchmark qualifications of different professional bodies in different parts of the world. So we did that. But now the IAP has its own qualifications, and we're going to talk about those. The fourth bullet point actually mentions a higher qualification achievement in accounting. So that's what we're looking to establish. Move on. So it's back to Jeff.
Thank you, Malcolm. So now we have two very exciting slides. The first is looking at the global coverage, and the second is looking at our intentions and our presence in Latin America. Could you just translate all these points, please? I am very busy, so I'm very happy, and at certain times of the year I travel a lot. And my job is not that of a salesperson, so I do not have to hard sell. And this in part is because of the status which the IAB enjoys as a not-for-profit organisation. I am not selling hamburgers or shoes. I am introducing an opportunity to establish a relationship for the benefit of accredited centres and the benefit of their clients. And the good news is it is very cost effective because it is not a franchise. It is a concessionary arrangement which allows the accredited centre to make a reasonable profit and for us to justify our continued presence in one market or another. In the early years, it was very much focused on the Russian Federation and the Baltic states. But because of the needs of emerging economies, our proposal has been well received in many regions in the world. The Caribbean, India, Malaysia. Malcom is spending a lot of time in Oman and Saudi Arabia recently. And with this synergy between the IAB and the IAP to provide a complete package, we are successful. And also, it's enjoyable because I have a good time with my colleagues in the different countries. Many we have known for years, and the professional esteem which we hold for each other filters through into friendship. So I hope to establish some good friendships with some of you present here today. What do you think? You just want coffee, I know. Okay, let's move on to the market in Latin America. Please do all. It is not an apology, but it is a fact that we are only approaching Latin America in these last 2 years. We were very busy elsewhere, as I have mentioned. The conditions in Latin America were not suitable for us to make an investment and to travel here. But now circumstances have changed with the factors of emerging economy, greater political stability, the conditions for international business, and the wish to have greater international mobility. And these are all factors which favour the introduction of ourselves as an organisation. So the very fact that I have been here 3 times in the last 12 months, I think underscores our commitment to try and establish relationships here. And also, we want our money back, because we have invested already in translation of Spanish materials. I think it's not coffee break yet. It's not coffee break yet, but it's not too far away. But I think just before Malcom continues, it may be a suitable moment just to see if you have any of those pressing questions where you want clarification of why we are here or what we are about. Who's first? If there's a question. Any questions? Malcom, we have stunned everybody into silence. Now we have found one. Oh, you just listen to me doing it.
¿Cuál es la relación entre estas dos organizaciones y la IFAC? ¿Cuál es la relación que existe entre estas dos organizaciones y la IFAC?
Thank you for your question. The IAB and the IAP are associate bodies. The IAB established IAP, and it controls IAP through one voting member, which is the IAB itself. But as Jeff mentioned earlier, the board of the IAB and the board of IAP are the same. All of those board members are elected by the membership. So hopefully that explains the relationship between the two. Okay. Now, as regards IFAC, the International Federation of Accountants, I'm sure all of you are very well aware of what IFAC is. I saw that you are going to be talking about the IFAC Code of Ethics. The IAB is not a member of IFAC. It's a decision which we have taken not to join at this point. Very simply because we don't see any real need or benefit. Because the IAB is recognised in the UK, in terms of its statutory appointments by Parliament, that it is regulated in terms of as a what we call a regulated awarding body by government. So far, internationally, we've found that sufficient to give assurance to both governments and also to training organisations of the integrity and standard of the IAB. But not just that. We will, in a moment, we will explain about the recognition of the IAB qualifications by IFAC members. So we will be talking about the fact that in the, again, my apologies, the UK accountancy bodies, there are the 4 chartered accountancy bodies in UK. They're the ones who qualify and supervise auditors. And all of those 4 are IFAC members. And 3 of the 4 recognise IAB qualifications as equivalent to their own exams. It is only the Scottish accountants who do not. But ICAW, ACCA and CIMA all recognise IAB qualifications as comparable to their own exam. Okay? Hopefully that explains. Thank you.
Could I just add one point there, which I didn't explain before, that the accredited centres which we have internationally cover a range of activity. Some of them are private universities or public universities where our courses are integrated into degree programs, giving added value in terms of vocational know-how and providing opportunity for international mobility. We also work direct with auditing companies who see the opportunity, who already have or see the opportunity for developing a training activity with their own client base, because their client base is calling out for the skills which we can provide. Maybe Malcom would just like to add to that as regards the Far East and Saudi Arabia. Thank you.
You've stolen one of my case studies now, Jeff, but I'll do the case study now and we'll skip it later. So, Jeff mentioned...
I always cause trouble.
It's fine, it's relevant, so it's important. Yes, KPMG in Oman, they were put in touch with us about 18 months ago. There's a big initiative in Oman to give skills to the indigenous population. If those of you are aware of the United Arab Emirates and that Gulf region, they're highly dependent on expatriate labour, staff coming from other regions, particularly the Indian Ocean region and also North Africa. And the Omani government has had what I believe is the sense that they have a problem amongst their young people who they perceive as being lazy and demotivated and not having skills. And it's not sustainable to keep on relying on recruiting labour from overseas. So KPMG, perceiving this shift in policy, has partnered with IAB to bring financial skills into the country to train the population. The government there in Oman has set targets for different occupations, and in accounting and bookkeeping they want 100% of employees to be indigenous population within the next 10 years. At the moment it's probably less than 5%. So there's a big job. So we started that activity with KPMG. They set up a training division within the practice there in Oman, in Muscat. And I have to say to you, they've done a good job, as you probably would expect KPMG to do. They've gone about it very professionally. They've used our study textbooks. They've now delivered 4 qualifications to a pilot group of 20 students. They have achieved over 90% pass rates, and they will get an award in December in the House of Parliament in the UK. We're going to acknowledge the work that they've done to encourage them as they go forward into next year. But that's a typical example of an accountancy practice seeing that they've got expertise, but they didn't have the know-how about what would the curriculum be. What about assessment standard? What about external recognition? And through one of our members, I mentioned this to Maurizio yesterday, the most passionate member of the IAB I've ever met. He happened to be a client, or worked for a client company of KPMG. He's a fellow of the IAB, and knowing of this government policy, he said to KPMG, what this country needs is IAB skills. This is what I use every day. And he joked with me when I met him for the first time. It wasn't a joke, he said. People ask me, which of my qualifications is the most important? And people think I'm going to say my MBA. But I always say it's my IAB qualification. And people say, oh, your IAB qualification, but that was only level 3. It was the qualification that you went to university with. Yes, he says, but that's the qualification I use every day. And he's a financial controller of a group of international companies. But knowing the content of the qualification and how that's helped him in his work over the years, that's what convinced KPMG that that's what they should offer. But now they've done it very successfully. And but that's the kind of thing. But it's not just KPMG. Jeff knows in Belarus, in Russia, the 2 PKF members have been effectively offering IAB programs for a number of years now. In the UK, accountancy practices do that. It's a natural kind of development where there's expertise that the accountancy practice has. It sees a need in its own client base and also the wider population, the community. And if it starts to understand maybe government funding, if that's available, and those kinds of things, it can see this is a real opportunity to make a difference, to earn some money, another income stream, but to do a very worthwhile job. And I'll hand back to Jeff now.